While all of this racial reckoning is going on, it's really easy to forget that this is also an election year. Last night, Democrats and Republicans lined up to vote in Georgia's primary elections. And when I say lined up, I mean they lined up.
Today, voters in Georgia were met with long lines and confusion at polling places as they tried to cast ballots in the state's primary elections.
From the air, you could see long lines of Georgia voters, socially distanced, stretching through parking lots.
Voters reported standing in the hot sun for up to 4 hours.
An extremely long wait. I've seen lots of people leave, that don't have it, understanding employers.
We got to do better when it comes to voting.
This is a crisis in our world to make us not exercise our right to vote. Please, God, help us.
God damn, did you see those lines? That didn't look like a voting day. It looked like the last scene in Us. And by the way, kudos to that white woman for using her complaining superpowers to defend democracy. We need to see more of that, instead of all these white women you see complaining that their iced tea is too cold. Because whether you're black, white, Republican, or Democrat, nobody should have to struggle to vote. I think we can all agree on that. Nobody should have to wait 4 hours to vote. This is an election, not the latest pair of Jordans. And that's what yesterday was. It was a struggle, an unnecessary struggle. And the reason it went wrong is because of everything.
Georgia, a key battleground state in November, had rescheduled its primary twice because of the coronavirus pandemic. Health concerns kept many longtime poll workers from showing up today, leaving inexperienced volunteers to run new voting machines for the first time.
Polling precincts that were at churches, assisted living centers, and senior centers had to be moved because of the coronavirus.
Georgia's Secretary of State, who oversees the election, is blaming local officials, saying poll workers were not properly trained.
The employees didn't understand the system. So what were they doing for all these months? All of a sudden they wake up and they say, let's have an election on Tuesday?
One county official firing back at the Secretary of State, saying if there was a failure of leadership, it starts where the buck should stop, at the top. Now Georgia's Secretary of State has launched an investigation ahead of November's election.
You know, it's funny how America has unlimited resources to make sure that countries around the world get democracy, but then America never seems to have the resources to make sure that there's democracy in America. I mean, if Atlanta wants more voting resources, maybe they should just declare that they're a country in the Middle East. Yo, so we're actually Afghanistan, Atlanta, so can we get some of that democracy cash? And while these issues were happening across the state of Georgia, they were especially bad in black areas. 3/4 of the people who called the hotline to complain about voting problems were black. And partly, that's because out of the 53 Georgia counties where polling places have been closed since 2012, more than half have large black populations. And I mean, at this point, none of this is surprising, right? We're used to seeing this by now. In fact, smartphone data shows that in 2016, voters in black neighborhoods across the country waited at polling places 29% longer than voters in white areas. So, as usual, when something goes bad in America, for black people, it gets worse. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's policing, voting issues, or winter. Yeah, because the Weather Channel says it's 30 degrees, but for black people, that shit feels like -10. So once again, America had an election day, and once again, America had a case of severe electoral dysfunction, especially with coronavirus now in the mix. And you know, just like with coronavirus, America has an opportunity right now to heed the warnings before it's too late. Because this isn't just a problem in Georgia. Right? We've seen these issues all around the country. And if this happens again in November with the presidency at stake, best believe people are going to be fighting over a lot more than just toilet paper. Well, that's our show for tonight. But before we go, The Daily Show and Comedy Central have been donating to 3 groups who are fighting against police brutality and systemic racism: the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Equal Justice Initiative, and the Bail Project. Now, if you are able to, and you'd like to help these groups as well, please go to any of the links and do whatever you can. Until tomorrow, stay safe out there. Remember to wear your mask.